Yeah, I think that what David described today is not really new to us. It's an extension, really, of where we've been, which is in a period of some uncertainty. I think, if anything, what we see now is that it's not a week-to-week proposition at this point. We got to get him to the point where he's back to baseball activity, and so he will be monitored on a weekly basis by the doctor. He'll be working with the PT directly, and we'll just have to go from checkpoint to checkpoint. But I don't expect him back in the next couple of weeks by any means. But at the same time, we do expect him back sometime this season, and we'll just have to wait and see when we can make a better, more precise assessment of when that will be.
Sandy, it would seem it kind of leaves you in a tough spot of trying to figure out where to go with third base.
Well, I'll say that we've totally anticipated this situation, but we continue to look at external possibilities and weigh those against what we have, and obviously the cost and talent for any trade acquisition or what have you. So we probably have a little more clarity today than we had, say, 10 days ago. We're not on the edge of our seat waiting for David to come back at this point. So I think we do have to continue to assess what our other options may be, and we do that. Not on a daily basis, but very frequently. So as I said, this isn't complete news to us, so it's not as if we're starting from scratch.
So do you think Murphy can move back to third base? Would that be one thing? Or?
Well, that's a possibility. Yeah. But we don't want to be moving people around too much until we have a good feel for what we think is a medium-term solution. And that's always the trade-off. You think about bringing somebody in who could be an everyday player. David comes back. How does that player fit? At the same time, what do we have internally today? What will we have in 2 weeks? Let's say when somebody like Herrera is back, when somebody may be performing at the AAA level. So we just have to continue to assess the situation.
If you do move some of your incumbent pieces around the infield, or if you're considering that, are you any less concerned now about moving Wilmer, whether it's to second or third, because you're now comfortable that he feels okay about himself at shortstop, and that it wouldn't be a message that would create negative implications?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think that we never would have considered moving him if it were interpreted as some sort of failure on his part. But I think at some point, it's conceivable that we might do that. But, at this point, we want to keep things as stable and consistent as we can. And moving people around all the time is not conducive to that. So I think we're going to be careful about, even if there are incremental gains to be made in defense with this alignment or what have you, I think we got to be careful about the negative consequences of constantly moving people around.
Sandy, with this ailment for David, is it difficult even when he does come back to simply just say he's locked in as our third baseman and not have a contingency based on what could potentially happen?
Well, I think you always have to have a contingency. And while your contingency at certain positions may be stronger than it is in other positions, you still have to have a contingency. So even when he comes back, and even if he were cleared to play every day and no expectation of injury, we'd still have to have a contingency.
I'm sorry. Have you had a chance to look at other cases of this condition to see how teams have managed it so that they can stay on the field? Because listening to David, it's clear that moving forward, this is going to be something that he's going to have to manage to stay on the field. So has there been any examples that have been informative to you guys at all?
Well, we think we have the best doctors in the United States, if not the world, looking at this. So from that standpoint, I expect that we will be able to, quote, manage it. But does that mean taking time off? Does that mean doing the right exercises? Does that mean that recognizing that there will be periods of time when the discomfort is to the point where he can't play? And I don't know that stenosis is like Tommy John surgery, where everything is fairly similar, and that there are conclusions to be drawn from other cases. One man or woman's stenosis could be completely different than someone else's. The back's 2 feet long, or thereabouts.
Ken Rosenthal wrote, I think like a week ago, that you guys were at least protected financially if David were to miss an extended period. Is that accurate?
That's not my bailiwick. That's not my area of expertise. But having insurance on players of his caliber is not unusual in the industry. I'm not trying to be evasive, but you're never fully protected in any event. Well, it's like any other insurance. There's deductible, there's co-pays, there's this, there's that. It's never a free lunch.
Suffice to say, without getting into the nitty-gritty, you'll recoup something from this if it were an extended absence?
It's a possibility, yeah.
So you found a midterm solution right now. That's Ruben Tejada at third base.
Well, he's done a nice job to this point. Eric Campbell did a nice job for a period of time. We had Murph over there for a while. But Ruben's done a nice job to this point. So, I think that what you've seen since David's been out is that there's been not a pre-planned rotation, but something of a rotation, trying to get the hot hand or somebody that can play consistently for a few days. And happily, Ruben's done that over the last few days. We'll see how it goes.